Kai woke up in a large round room. The walls glowed softly with silver blue light. The bed was soft, but everything felt strange. No windows, no machines to fix, just silence. He sat up, still trying to understand what had happened. One day, he was fixing signal wires on a lonely station. Now, he was inside a royal alien ship, chosen by a queen for some kind of trial. He rubbed his face and whispered, "What did I get myself into?" A quiet sound came from the wall. A panel opened and a smooth voice spoke. "You are summoned, Kai. The queen awaits." He stood up, brushed off his shirt, and followed a long hallway. Two guards waited at the end. They didn't speak. They simply turned and began walking. Kai followed them through the shining halls until they reached a large chamber. Filled with white stone columns and floating lights, Queen Orala stood at the center. Her long cloak moved gently as if touched by wind, though there was none. Around her were 5 tall aliens in armor, standing in a half circle. When she saw Kai, her voice echoed through the chamber. "Human, today begins your first trial." Kai raised a hand. "Hold on. Before that, what kind of trial is this? Fighting? Solving riddles? Walking through fire?" Orala's lips curled into a small smile. "You will be tested by truth, reaction, and thought. No tricks, but the challenges will show your nature." Kai sighed. "All right, let's get started." The queen nodded, and one of the armored aliens stepped forward. He pressed a small crystal on the wall. The ground beneath Kai shifted. He dropped through the floor into a new room. It was darker here. A round chamber, smooth and silent. Then, without warning, the floor tilted. The room spun slowly. Gravity began to shift. A calm voice spoke from above. "Test 1. Balance under change." The room kept turning. Kai's body lifted slightly as gravity faded. He floated for a second, then the floor snapped back. Gravity returned harder this time. Kai stumbled and hit the floor. He groaned but stood up. "Okay. Balance test. I get it." The room shifted again. This time, one wall opened, and a series of platforms appeared, each one moving slowly in a circle. The voice said, "Reach the far side." Kai took a breath and stepped onto the first platform. It wobbled, but he kept his balance. One step at a time, he crossed the moving path, keeping his arms wide and knees loose. When the final platform stopped near the far wall, he jumped. He landed on the other side, rolled once, and laughed. "Still got it." The lights dimmed. The floor opened again. He dropped into another chamber. This time, the room was full of machines. Wires dangled from the ceiling. Panels sparked. A console was smoking on the far wall. "Test 2. Solve the damage." Kai smiled for the first time. Finally, something. "I know." He ran to the console and opened the back panel. Burnt wires, overloaded fuse, loose coupling. He grabbed a nearby tool and started working fast. In 10 minutes, the machine beeped and powered up again. The calm voice spoke. "Solution accepted." Before Kai could respond, a door opened. A low growl echoed from inside. Out stepped a creature, tall, covered in soft dark fur, with 4 glowing eyes. It looked scared and angry. Its leg had a deep cut. As soon as it saw Kai, it growled louder. "Test 3. Fear or care." Kai froze. He could see pain in the creature's eyes. He didn't move. Slowly, he knelt and reached into his jacket, pulling out a clean cloth. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said. The creature stepped closer. Kai didn't flinch. He showed the cloth, dipped it in a small water pack, and placed it gently on the floor. The creature sniffed it, then limped forward. Kai saw the wound clearly now. He whispered, "You've been through worse than me." Slowly, carefully, he cleaned the wound and wrapped it with the cloth. The creature didn't growl. It just sat down beside him. The calm voice said again, "Response accepted." The lights brightened, and the walls faded away. Kai was standing once more in the main chamber. The queen and her guards were watching from a high platform. Orala spoke, her voice calm and firm. "You passed the trials, not by strength, not by force, but by stillness, thought, and kindness." Kai scratched the back of his head. "So, was this your idea of a date?" Some of the guards looked shocked. One even reached for his sword, but Arala raised her hand. Stopping them, she stepped down from the platform and stood close to Kai. No, this is how we see truth. You showed who you are without lies. That matters more than perfect words. Kai looked around. So now what? More tests? Arala shook her head. Now, you are allowed to stay aboard. As a guest, no longer a trial. Subject, he blinked. Just like that, she nodded. You have a room, food, time, rest, and my attention. Kai wasn't sure what that last part meant, but he felt her eyes watching him closely. As she turned to walk away, she paused and said, "We will speak again, Kai. There is more I wish to learn." He watched her disappear into the golden light. For the first time in years, Kai didn't feel bored, lonely, or forgotten. Something had changed. And whatever came next, he knew it wouldn't be quiet. Kai woke up in a large round room. The walls glowed softly with silver blue light. The bed was soft, but everything felt strange. No windows, no machines to fix, just silence. He sat up, still trying to understand what had happened. One day, he was fixing signal wires on a lonely station. Now, he was inside a royal alien ship, chosen by a queen for some kind of trial. He rubbed his face and whispered, "What did I get myself into?" A quiet sound came from the wall. A panel opened and a smooth voice spoke. "You are summoned, Kai. The queen awaits." He stood up, brushed off his shirt, and followed a long hallway. Two guards waited at the end. They didn't speak. They simply turned and began walking. Kai followed them through the shining halls until they reached a large chamber. Filled with white stone columns and floating lights, Queen Arala stood at the center. Her long cloak moved gently as if touched by wind, though there was none. Around her were 5 tall aliens in armor, standing in a half circle. When she saw Kai, her voice echoed through the chamber. "Human, today begins your first trial." Kai raised a hand. "Hold on. Before that, what kind of trial is this? Fighting? Solving riddles? Walking through fire?" Arala's lips curled into a small smile. "You will be tested by truth, reaction, and thought. No tricks, but the challenges will show your nature." Kai sighed. "All right, let's get started." The queen nodded, and one of the armored aliens stepped forward. He pressed a small crystal on the wall. The ground beneath Kai shifted. He dropped through the floor into a new room. It was darker here. A round chamber, smooth and silent. Then, without warning, the floor tilted. The room spun slowly. Gravity began to shift. A calm voice spoke from above. "Test 1. Balance under change." The room kept turning. Kai's body lifted slightly as gravity faded. He floated for a second, then the floor snapped back. Gravity returned harder this time. Kai stumbled and hit the floor. He groaned but stood up. "Okay. Balance test. I get it." The room shifted again. This time, one wall opened, and a series of platforms appeared, each one moving slowly in a circle. The voice said, "Reach the far side." Kai took a breath and stepped onto the first platform. It wobbled, but he kept his balance. One step at a time, he crossed the moving path, keeping his arms wide and knees loose. When the final platform stopped near the far wall, he jumped. He landed on the other side, rolled once, and laughed. "Still got it." The lights dimmed. The floor opened again. He dropped into another chamber. This time, the room was full of machines. Wires dangled from the ceiling. Panels sparked. A console was smoking on the far wall. "Test 2. Solve the damage." Kai smiled for the first time. Finally, something. "I know." He ran to the console and opened the back panel. Burnt wires, overloaded fuse, loose coupling. He grabbed a nearby tool and started working fast. In 10 minutes, the machine beeped and powered up again. The calm voice spoke. "Solution accepted." Before Kai could respond, a door opened. A low growl echoed from inside. Out stepped a creature, tall, covered in soft dark fur, with 4 glowing eyes. It looked scared and angry. Its leg had a deep cut. As soon as it saw Kai, it growled louder. "Test 3. Fear or care." Kai froze. He could see pain in the creature's eyes. He didn't move. Slowly, he knelt and reached into his jacket, pulling out a clean cloth. I'm not gonna hurt you, he said. The creature stepped closer. Kai didn't flinch. He showed the cloth, dipped it in a small water pack, and placed it gently on the floor. The creature sniffed it, then limped forward. Kai saw the wound clearly now. He whispered, "You've been through worse than me." Slowly, carefully, he cleaned the wound and wrapped it with the cloth. The creature didn't growl. It just sat down beside him. The calm voice said again, "Response accepted." The lights brightened, and the walls faded away. Kai was standing once more in the main chamber. The queen and her guards were watching from a high platform. Arala spoke, her voice calm and firm. "You passed the trials, not by strength, not by force, but by stillness, thought, and kindness." Kai scratched the back of his head. "So, was this your idea of a date?" Some of the guards looked shocked. One even reached for his sword, but Arala raised her hand. Stopping them, she stepped down from the platform and stood close to Kai. "No, this is how we see truth. You showed who you are without lies. That matters more than perfect words." Kai looked around. "So now what? More tests?" Arala shook her head. "Now, you are allowed to stay aboard. As a guest, no longer a trial. Subject," he blinked. Just like that, she nodded. "You have a room, food, time, rest, and my attention." Kai wasn't sure what that last part meant, but he felt her eyes watching him closely. As she turned to walk away, she paused and said, "We will speak again, Kai. There is more I wish to learn." He watched her disappear into the golden light. For the first time in years, Kai didn't feel bored, lonely, or forgotten. Something had changed. And whatever came next, he knew it wouldn't be quiet. Kai sat alone in the garden chamber, watching silver petals fall from tall glowing trees. It didn't feel like a spaceship. It felt like a dream. The ground was soft like grass, though it was smooth crystal. Tiny insects with shining wings floated past him, leaving light trails in the air. Since passing the Queen's first trials, he was treated differently. No more locked rooms, no guards standing close. He had his own quarters, food that adjusted to his taste, and even a guide and AI named Nira who answered his questions and showed him how things worked. But even with comfort around him, Kai felt a quiet pressure in the air. He was being watched, studied. Every move he made meant something. Nira's voice rang gently through the space. "Kai, the Queen requests your presence in the Hall of Balance." He stood up, brushed his hands together, and nodded. "All right, let's see what she has for me this time." The path lit up before him. Floating platforms carried him across wide gardens and tall towers, until he reached a great open hall. The floor was white stone with moving patterns under the surface, like wind over sand. On one side stood Queen Arala. Behind her, a group of nobles in high robes watched in silence. Arala looked at Kai with calm eyes. "This chamber is sacred to my people," she said. "Here, all must face truth, even a queen." Kai folded his arms. "Truth, huh? I thought I already passed your tests." She stepped forward slowly. "Those were to understand your mind. Now I wish to understand your heart." Kai blinked. "What does that mean?" Without answering, Arala raised one hand. A round table rose from the ground. A box opened in the center, revealing 5 glowing objects. They floated into the air, each one shaped like a simple tool hammer, flame, mirror, chain, and leaf. "You must choose one," she said. "Each shows a path. You will face a challenge based on your choice. There is no right or wrong, only reflection." Kai looked at the objects. The mirror drew his attention first, but something about the leaf felt peaceful. He pointed at it. "I'll take the leaf." The moment he touched it, everything changed. The chamber faded, and he stood in a dark forest. Tall trees reached up into black sky. Strange animal sounds echoed through the air. Then, a sound of crying. Kai turned and followed it, pushing through thick leaves until he saw a small figure curled up beside a broken tree. It was a child, or something like one, big eyes, pale skin, wearing a torn cloak. She looked up, shaking. "Please help," she said. Kai knelt beside her. "Are you hurt?" The child pointed to her leg. A piece of metal was stuck deep in the skin. He tore off a strip from his sleeve and gently pulled the metal out. The child screamed, but didn't pull away. He wrapped the leg, lifted her in his arms, and began to walk. The forest seemed endless. Strange lights moved through the trees. At one point, a tall shadow stepped out in front of him. It looked like a beast, but its eyes were full of reason. It growled low. "She does not belong with you," the creature said. "Leave her." Kai took a step back but didn't put the child down. "She needs help. I won't leave her." The creature stepped aside, eyes still watching. "Then go. But her pain will become yours." Kai kept walking. Hours seemed to pass. His arms ached. His feet dragged. The child rested her head on his chest, whispering, "You don't have to do this." He answered, "I know. But I want to." The forest opened at last. A soft light covered the path ahead. He stepped into it and felt warmth spread through his chest. The scene faded. Kai stood once again in the Hall of Balance, the queen and her nobles were still there. Orala spoke quietly. "Many choose flame or chain. Few choose the leaf. It shows the heart of one who protects without reward." Kai rubbed his arms. That test felt real. Orala nodded. "It was built from your thoughts. The girl was part of your memory." He looked down. "My sister. She was lost long ago. I tried to save her. I couldn't." For the first time, Orala's expression softened fully. "Now I understand why you choose silence over crowds. You carry something inside." Kai didn't answer. He just nodded. One of the nobles stepped forward. His name was Varek. Dressed in dark robes with sharp lines, his face was stern, and his voice was cold. "Queen Orala, you have allowed this human into sacred chambers. You give him trials meant for future kings. Is this wise?" Orala didn't look at him. "He has earned this right." Varek turned his eyes on Kai. "He is not of our kind. He is simple, weak, and unknown. How can he be trusted with matters of the throne?" Kai stepped forward calmly. "I didn't ask to sit on any throne, but I didn't run either. I faced every test you gave me." Varek narrowed his eyes. "Tests can be passed with luck." Orala raised her hand. "Enough. Kai's presence is my decision. He is not here to replace our ways, but to show what our ways have forgotten." Varek stepped back, but the look in his eyes was sharp. After the nobles left, Orala turned to Kai once more. "You showed patience, kindness, and pain. I see more than just a human in you now." He gave a half smile. "Still don't know what you're planning with all this." Orala walked closer, her voice softer than before. "In my world, leaders are chosen by power. But what if power without care leads only to ruin? I wish to learn another path." Kai raised an eyebrow. "And I'm that path. You may be." They stood in silence, two beings from different worlds, trying to understand each other. And in that quiet space, something began to grow. Not trust, not love, at least not yet, but something real. The next day, Kai stood at the edge of a high balcony. The royal vessel slowly moved through a sea of stars. Below him, lights from the planet Velmara flickered like fireflies. He had never seen anything so calm, yet so full of unknowns. He had passed the queen's trials. He had walked her strange halls, faced her people, and listened to her words. But something inside him still felt unsure. Not of her, but of everything surrounding her. There were too many eyes watching. Too many smiles that didn't feel honest. Nira, the AI who guided him, floated beside him in her usual soft blue shape. "Kai, you have been silent for 1 hour. Would you like music?" He shook his head. "No, I'm thinking about the queen." Kai didn't answer right away. "About the people around her." Nira paused. "Some of them speak against you. Varek especially." "I figured." He leaned forward on the railing. "He looks at me like I'm a disease. You are change. To those who fear change, you are danger." Kai turned. "You don't seem afraid." "I am not programmed to fear. I am programmed to learn." He smiled slightly. "Then stay close. I have a feeling things are going to get messy." That evening, Kai walked through one of the side corridors, hoping for quiet. But as he passed a small doorway, he heard voices low, sharp, and urgent. He stopped out. A group of nobles stood inside, around a small circular table. At the center was a map of the ship. Their voices were heated. Varek's voice rose. This cannot go on. The queen listens to him now. A human. She turns her face from our traditions, from our future. Another voice, a woman's, answered. She claims he is only a guest. And what happens when a guest is given the crown? Varek snapped. This ship will not bow to an outsider. If she will not see reason, we must act. Kai's breath caught. He stepped back slowly. A soft crack came from under his foot. Silence inside the room. Did you hear that? A noble said. Kai didn't wait. He turned and moved fast through the halls. He knew the ship well enough now to find paths most guards ignored. When he reached his room, he locked the door and sat on the floor, breathing hard. Nira appeared beside him. You are in distress. What has happened? He looked up. They're planning something, a coup. Maybe worse. They want to stop the queen. Nira's glow dimmed for a moment. That would explain the sealed messages sent from Varek's chambers. I could not access them. Kai stood. We need to tell Arala. She is in council. Her guards may not allow you through. Then, I'll find her another way. He left his room at once and headed toward the upper levels. He knew Arala sometimes visited the Crystal Garden late at night. It was her quiet place. No guards. No throne, just peace. He was right. She stood beneath the glowing trees, arms folded, eyes closed. The crystals around her reflected a soft silver light. When Kai stepped into the garden, she turned at once. You look troubled. I need to speak with you now. She saw the look on his face and nodded. Tell me. Kai told her everything. The voices, the plan, the anger behind their words. Arala listened in silence, her face calm but her eyes sharp. When he finished, she asked one question. Do you fear for your life? He gave a small laugh. I didn't until today. She stepped closer. This path was always dangerous. I knew that from the moment I let you speak freely in my court. Then why take the risk? He asked. Because I am tired of masks. I am tired of silence dressed as peace. You speak what others fear to say. Kai looked around the garden. They'll come after you too. They don't want change. They want control. I am the queen. But even a queen must watch for blades hidden behind smiles. He touched the side of his neck where the small scar from the first trial remained. So what do we do? Arala raised her hand. A small blue stone floated out of her sleeve. She placed it in his hand. This will lead you to the ship's core. If you know its path, go there. Watch what they do. Record it. If I fall, use this to show the truth. Kai closed his hand around the stone. You're not going to fall. Arala smiled gently. Hope is good, but we must also plan for the worst. She stepped back. Tomorrow, I will call the nobles to the Hall of Judgment. They will speak. I will listen. And if they move against me, they will show their true faces. Kai nodded. I'll be ready. That night, Kai didn't sleep. He followed the path from the stone and reached a place deep within the ship. The core chamber was large and filled with pulsing light. From here, all systems could be seen: power, movement, air, doors, weapons. He set the stone on a panel. It activated silently, creating a field that recorded everything. As expected, hidden messages began flowing across the ship. Codes, commands, orders to key guards. A pattern was clear. Varek was moving his pieces. Kai stared at the display and whispered, "They're going to strike." Just before dawn, he returned to his room and sent the full record to Arala. When the sun rose over the horizon of Velmara, the queen stood in the Hall of Judgment. She wore no crown. Her hands were empty, but her eyes held fire. And behind the high walls, rebellion waited in the dark. The Hall of Judgment was silent when Queen Arala entered. Light from the tall glass walls shone down on her like a spotlight. The nobles stood in two lines, their faces calm, their eyes cold. Varek was among them, standing tall with his hands behind his back. Arala walked slowly toward her seat at the center of the hall. She didn't wear her royal cloak. She didn't need it. Her voice carried strength all on its own. "Today we speak of peace," she said. "But if there is no peace in your hearts, then let truth rise instead." Varek stepped forward. "We have no war with you, my queen, only concern. You allow this human to speak freely. You test him like one of our own. It weakens your rule. Another noble added, Velmar has lived in balance for centuries. You bring change without warning. That brings chaos. Kai stood at the side, near one of the silver pillars. He listened carefully. His hand rested near the small control ring Orala had given him, if anything went wrong. He was ready to act. The queen looked at her nobles one by one. You speak of balance, yet move in secret. You claim concern, yet speak of rebellion behind my back. Varric raised an eyebrow. Rebellion? That is a strong word. Kai stepped forward now. His voice was clear and firm. Then let's talk about strong words. Let's talk about secret meetings, hidden messages, orders to guards, gasps filled. The chamber, Varric's eyes narrowed. You dare accuse without proof. Orala nodded to Kai-Da. He tapped the ring once. A silver light filled the hall. Images appeared in the air above them, recordings from the ship's core. Words, maps, meetings, commands, and Varric's voice, clear and sharp, giving orders to take control of the ship during the Queen's next public event. The chamber fell silent. Varric took a step forward, his hand reaching into his sleeve. Kai moved first. He lunged, tackling Varric to the ground just as the noble pulled out a small energy blade. The weapon hit the floor and skidded away. Guards rushed in, grabbing Varric and holding him down. Several other nobles tried to run, but more guards blocked the exits. Orala stood tall, her voice calm. Let all witness the truth. This was not concern. This was treason. Varric spat toward the floor. You forget who you are. You forget our ways. This human has poisoned your heart. Orala walked toward him and looked into his eyes. No. He reminded me of what we lost, honor without fear, kindness without pride. She turned to the others. This day was meant to test me. You thought I would fall, but you forget Velmara does not kneel to lies. We rise through light. The nobles were silent. Some lowered their heads, others remained frozen. Varric was dragged out by the guards. Kai stood up, his chest still heaving. His arm was scraped, and his shoulder hurt from the fall, but he was fine. The queen walked toward him. You acted with courage. You saved not only me but our people. Kai gave a small smile. I just didn't want to be stabbed. She smiled too. Even so, you stood between me and the blade. She turned to the remaining nobles. From this moment forward, change will not be feared. It will be guided, and Kai, this human, will remain here as my guest, my advisor, and my protector. Murmurs filled the hall. Some accepted the queen's words. Others remained silent. After the chamber cleared, Orala and Kai walked together through the royal gardens. The stars outside the ship's crystal windows began to fade. As the ship moved toward the light of Velmara's sun, "You're not angry?" Kai asked. "About what?" "That I acted before your guards did. That I moved without your order." Orala looked at him calmly. "You acted with instinct, not pride. That is what makes you different." Kai nodded. "I didn't come here to lead anything. I just wanted to help." "And yet, you led by example," she said. They walked in silence for a while. Finally, Kai stopped. "You know, I'm still not used to all this, royal halls, alien gardens, people calling me important." "You are important," Orala said. He looked at her. "Because I saved you?" "No," she replied. "Because you never tried to be more than what you are. That is what gives you strength." He laughed softly. "Strange strength. I just fix things, sometimes. Fixing things is what saves the world." They reached a quiet pond. The water glowed faintly, reflecting the stars. Orala knelt beside it and touched the surface with her fingers. In our history, there are few moments where a leader is given a second path. I believe I have found mine. Kai sat down beside her. "What does that path look like?" She looked at him, her silver eyes steady. "One where I lead with both reason and heart. One where I don't walk alone." Kai felt his face grow warm. He didn't say anything for a moment. "I'm still learning all of this," he said. "So am I." Orala replied. A moment passed between them, quiet, deep, and honest. Then she asked again, softly this time, "Kai, are you still single?" He chuckled, then nodded. "I think I am. but maybe not for long. The queen smiled, not the formal smile she gave the court, but a real one, a rare one. And somewhere deep in the ship, where machines hummed and stars watched from afar, a new future began to take shape. Kai stood in front of the large window in his private chamber. The stars looked peaceful, but his mind wasn't. The queen had trusted him. She had chosen him to stand at her side. But was he ready for that? The door behind him slid open with a soft sound. It was Rilo, one of the queen's guards. The queen asks for you in the Hall of Stars. Rilo said, "It's important." Kai turned and nodded. "I'll be there." He followed Rilo through the quiet halls of the royal ship. The walls shimmered with soft blue light, and the air felt warmer than usual. As they reached the tall doors of the Hall of Stars, Kai paused. "She's inside?" he asked. "Yes," Rilo said, "and many others too." The doors opened out inside. The hall was full of voices, lights, and movement. Nobles, guards, workers, and even traders from other species had gathered. At the far end stood Queen Arala, dressed in silver robes that shimmered like the surface of water. Kai stepped forward, confused. One of the nobles, an older woman named Vanna, raised her hand. "Let the humans speak." Kai stopped and looked around. "Speak about what?" Arala took a step forward. "About what kind of future you see here, among us." Kai blinked. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "You've lived among us. You've seen our people. You've saved our lives. You've earned the right to speak your mind." He looked around. Faces turned toward him. Some curious, some respectful, a few doubtful. He cleared his throat. "I'm not a leader," he said. "I didn't grow up dreaming about ruling or giving speeches. I was a ship mechanic. I fixed engines, repaired broken circuits, made things work again." Some people chuckled. Kai smiled a little. "But when I came here, I saw something else that was broken. Trust, hope, the belief that change could be good." He looked at Arala. "She didn't treat me like a stranger. She didn't lock me up or ask me to leave. She let me stay. She asked me questions, and she listened." He turned to the crowd. "I don't have your history. I don't understand all your laws. But I do understand this kindness isn't weakness, and peace isn't fear. You don't need to be afraid of change. You just need to guide it." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then a trader with green scales clapped his hands. A moment later, others joined. Slowly, the hall filled with respectful applause. Queen Arala smiled. Later, when the hall was empty, she walked beside Kai in the garden paths again. "You spoke well," she said. "I just told the truth." He replied. She stopped near the same glowing pond from before. "Kai," she said, "I've decided something. Not just as queen, but as a woman of Velmara." He turned to face her. "What decision?" "I want you to stay. Not as a guest, not as an advisor, but as a partner." He blinked. "Partner?" "You mean?" She nodded. "Every queen must choose someone to walk beside her. I could choose any noble, but I want someone who sees beyond titles. Someone who fights for others, not power." Kai rubbed the back of his neck. "That's a big ask." "You would still be free," she said. "You wouldn't lose who you are. But together, we could build something stronger." Kai sat down on the edge of the pond. The water glowed gently below. "I never thought a queen would ask me to stay by her side," he said. "You're more than you think," she told him. He looked up. "And you're braver than most leaders I've ever seen." She knelt beside him. "I could wait for an answer," she said. Kai shook his head slowly. "No, I've got it already." She raised her eyebrows. He smiled. "I'll stay. I don't know what the future looks like, but I'll stay." She reached out and placed her hand over his. "You've made me very glad, Kai." The next day, the queen held a gathering in the outer ring of the ship. Everyone was invited: citizens, guards, builders, and farmers. Food was shared. Lights filled the sky above the ship's dome like stars falling gently. Kai stood beside Arala as she addressed the people. "We were divided," she said. "We feared change. But now we move together." She held Kai's hand up. "This man came from a world far away. He had no army, no crown, only his heart. and that heart changed us. The people cheered. Kai leaned toward her. You really know how to make a speech, she smiled. I had practice. As the celebration continued, a small ship entered orbit around Velmara. It carried the seal of Earth. A message came through the Queen's private channel. It was from Earth's ambassador. We heard about your human guest, the message said. We'd like to meet him and you. Kai watched the message with Arala. Well, he said. Looks like Earth wants to talk. They can talk, she said. But remember, my choice was made before they arrived. He nodded. Mine. Too. Outside, music played. Lights danced across the sky. The people of Velmara celebrated not just the Queen's choice, but a new era, and beside her, a human stood not as a stranger, but as someone chosen. The garden on the royal ship glowed in soft green and blue light. It was peaceful, and Kai finally had a moment to breathe. He sat beneath the crystal tree where the Queen had once asked him that strange question, are you single, human? That one question had changed everything. A soft voice pulled him out of thought. You're up early, Arala said, stepping beside him. Kai smiled. Couldn't sleep. A message came in. Earth's ship is just a few hours out. She nodded. I know. The ambassador wants to speak with you. I figured, Kai said. They probably think I've gone native. You have, she said, softly, sitting beside him. But you're still human. You're just ours too. He looked around the garden. This place feels more like home than anywhere I've been. She touched his shoulder. Then maybe it is home. The meeting with Earth's ambassador happened in the grand chamber. Queen Arala stood at Kai's side as the human delegation entered. They wore formal suits and carried polished devices, their faces serious. The ambassador, a tall man named Gray, stepped forward. Mr. Kai Morgan, he said, you've caused quite a stir. Kai raised an eyebrow. Didn't plan on that. Gray turned to Arala. Your Majesty, Earth thanks you for hosting one of our own. We're here to bring him home. Arala stayed calm. He is not a prisoner. He is here by choice. Gray looked to Kai. Do you wish to return, Mr. Morgan? Your family misses you. Your world needs to understand what happened here. Kai nodded slowly. I'll talk with you, but I'm not leaving forever. Gray frowned. You're staying. Kai looked around the room. I belong here now, but I'll visit. I'll explain everything Earth wants to know. I just won't stay on Earth. Gray hesitated. You realize how unusual this is? Kai smiled. A little. But unusual doesn't mean wrong. The Earth team set up talks with Velmara's leaders. It was the first real contact between the two worlds, trade agreements, cultural exchanges. Science sharing, all of it started because one man crashed on their land and didn't run away. That night, Arala invited Kai to the Sky Garden. It was high above the main decks, with open panels showing the stars. There's something I want to show you, she said. She tapped a small button on her bracelet. A platform rose from the ground, carrying a silver box. She opened it. Inside was a smooth band made of star metal. It glowed faintly with the Queen's crest. I had this made for you, she said. It's a symbol, not just of our bond, but of your place here. Kai stepped closer. Is this what I think it is? She smiled. It's a ring, not for power, for promise. He took it slowly, then slipped it onto his finger. It fit perfectly. I've never had anything like this, he said. You've never needed it, she replied. But now, you're part of something greater. Over the next few weeks, Kai became more than just a symbol. He worked with the Queen's advisors, helped design better systems for ship engines, showed Earth tech that helped Velmara's farms grow faster. In return, Earth sent doctors and engineers who learned Velmara's ways. People from both worlds started talking, laughing, trading stories, understanding each other. One evening, a young girl from Velmara approached Kai during a festival. She wore her learning robes and held a small stone tablet. Are you really human? She asked. Kai smiled. Last time I checked. She frowned. You don't look scary like the stories said. Kai knelt down. That's because stories can be wrong. She nodded and ran off to tell her friends later. Arala joined him as music filled the air. Firelights rose above the trees, painting the sky in colors. "You've changed this world," she said. "No," Kai said, watching the dancing lights. "You gave me a place to be myself." She took his hand. "You still haven't answered that first question I asked," she said. Kai chuckled. "You mean the one about being single?" She nodded. He leaned closer. "Not anymore. From that night on, people began calling him the human star. It wasn't about fame. It was about hope. He was proof that even the most different species could live together, learn from each other, respect each other." Years passed. Kai stayed on Velmara, but visited Earth often. His story became a bridge between two worlds. Schools taught about the mechanic who became a leader. Kids on both planets dreamed of traveling the stars. And the queen, she ruled with wisdom, but never alone again. With Kai beside her, Velmara moved into a new age one of unity. One day, as they walked through the garden, Arala stopped and looked at him. "You changed everything," she said. He smiled and looked up at the stars. "So, did you? All because of one strange question?" The end.